Hello, my name is Dylan, and today's review is Lord of the Rings Journey to Mordor from Fantasy Flight Games. Journey to Mordor is a pretty simple dice game that plays from 2 to 4 players. I'm going to do a quick how to play, and then I'll give you some quick final thoughts. In Journey to Mordor, everyone is going to have a journey sheet, which has 2 tracks on it. One track is the Ring track, the other track is the Nazgul track. Players will choose one of the Hobbits, which also represents their color, for the duration of the game. Then the first player takes all 5 die and rolls them. Then they will choose at least 1 die to set aside. Any dice that are not chosen are then rolled again, after which they will choose 1 more die to set aside. The player repeats this process until all 5 die have been set aside. There are 2 rules that players must follow when setting aside dice. 1. A player cannot set aside 2 or more dice that show the same symbol. And 2. If a player rolls 1 or more Nazgul, he must set 1 of those aside. There are 6 symbols across all the die. Each symbol will affect a player's map sheet accordingly. Any ring symbols a player has set aside will move them up their ring track. Any Nazgul symbols they have set aside will typically affect their own track, but when you have more players, depending on the color of the Nazgul die, that will affect that player's Nazgul track. If at least 1 orc symbol has been rolled, and not countered, that will cancel all ring symbols that have been rolled. Accordingly, to counter that, if you roll at least 1 fellowship symbol, you've countered at least 1 orc. The Gandalf symbol will give you some help and allow you to divide one of the squares of your Nazgul track in half. Thus, 2 X's will be put instead of 1. And finally, the rarest of the symbols is the white tree. This is only found on the black die, and it can be used to end your turn immediately. Let's get an example of the white tree in action. So a player has rolled 1 ring, 1 Nazgul, 2 orcs, and a fellowship symbol. That player must keep the Nazgul symbol, but also sets aside the ring. The other die are rolled. On a player's second roll, they roll a ring, a white tree, and another orc. They set aside the ring first, and then set aside the white tree, ending their turn not resolving the orc symbol because it was not set aside, and getting to update their map sheet accordingly. The game is over essentially when a player reaches Mordor. Then all other players have at least 1 more turn to see if they can reach Mordor. If a player's Nazgul track gets to Mordor before their ring track, that player is eliminated from the game. One thing to keep in mind that even though a player has reached Mordor, if another player causes their Nazgul track to fill up, that player will still lose. Lastly, if more than 1 Hobbit reaches Mordor, there is a tiebreaker. The player who has the most empty spaces on their Nazgul track will be declared the winner in that case. If, for some reason, there is a tie, then there will be a shared victory. On each map sheet, if you turn it over, there is an advanced rules side. Essentially, all this does is when you land in certain spaces on the ring track, you will be granted a special ability that either hurts or harms you depending on where you are. And that's how you play Lord of the Rings Journey to Mordor. Now, Journey to Mordor is not a lot. It's a very tiny little box game. But I'm surprised at how much of a hit it has been. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't Game of the Year. It's not flying off the shelves anytime soon. But it is quite a fun little dice game to kill a little bit of time. The game honestly lasts somewhere between 15-20 minutes, maybe even less if everyone's doing their turn relatively quickly. I will say this about the game is sort of 90% luck. There's not a whole lot of strategy. There's a little bit with the sort of, Hobbit betrayal mechanism of choosing other players' Nazgul symbols instead of your own when you roll more than 1 and that sort of thing. I don't know. Thematically, that kind of makes very little sense because the hobbits are supposed to work together. But I guess they're trying to play off the whole ring corrupting its user kind of thing.
The ring is mine.
Thematic concerns aside, the game works pretty well, and it's a fun way to kill those 15-20 minutes. Now, I got the game for about $5, so I think that's pretty much well worth it. I think MSRP is somewhere in the $12 to $15 range, which is an alright price. I can't really complain about a price like that. The only limited thing about this that is kind of bad is sort of the map sheets. You have a limited number, of course, in the game, and there's no refill pad anywhere that you can buy. So really, once you get through all the sheets, that could be it. Of course, yes, you can photocopy and make more copies. That's not an issue. Technically, you can have unlimited replayability at that point. It's not a true issue, but if you want the full color, really nice sheets, well, you only have so many that come in the game, and there's really no easy way without buying a whole nother copy to replace them. And honestly, that's about really all I can say about this game. It's a very simple little dice game. It's 90% luck, but it's still a lot of fun if you like rolling dice and just want to kill a little bit of time. It's totally a filler game. I would not expect this to be the prime of a game night, but if you're looking for a fun little thing during a work break or something, it has been a success big time at my work. A lot of people love to really just play it and kind of kill 15 minutes on their break or whatever. It's a very quick, fun game. Everybody can understand it, and the nice thing is you can still talk and easily communicate while one player's taking their turn, and it's not a big issue to really think about what you're going to be doing on your turn, because it's really just up to whatever the dice tell you. That does it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you really enjoyed this review, then feel free to leave a Patreon donation once my page has gone live, and I will see you next game night. Bye!